the iconic Statue of Liberty, a symbol known worldwide for all things New York City, Times Square. Every tourist under the sun visit it. But how about Madison Square Garden? That building, 50 years old, and of course the Empire State Building that looks above it. Madison Square Garden, this particular location, 50 years old. It has hosted some of the greatest fights in boxing history, and in particular, the greatest heavyweight fights in boxing history. Of course, who could forget March 8, 1971, Ali Frazier won the fight of the century. But for the first time in the history of mixed martial arts, the UFC heavyweight title will be defended here at MSG tonight. Hello again, everyone. I'm Ariel Helwani. That's Chael Sonnen. We're with you for the next hour leading up to the UFC 230 main card that airs live on pay-per-view. The headlining act, of course, Daniel Cormier versus Derrick Lewis. This is special, Chael. This is historic for our sport.
Look, I think it's fun, and I like your build-up. You know, I love the history of the sport, and I actually don't remember what was going on blah, blah, day. Was it March 8th?
March 8, 1971.
I know you said 1971, though, but that's a very fun fact, and you're right. This building does have a lot of history in it. Listen, upsets come when champions believe they cannot be stopped. I don't know that that's what we're going to see tonight, but when you want to talk about history, you will, of course, know the odds when Buster Douglas beat Mike Tyson, when Ronda Rousey lost to Holly Holm, when the great T.J. Dillashaw took out Renan Barão. The same odds, 8-1, that Derrick Lewis goes in tonight as an underdog against Daniel Cormier.
Okay, so throughout this show, we will be talking about that main event. We'll be talking to some special guests. We'll be talking about the co-main event, which pits Chris Weidman versus Jacare Souza, Israel Adesanya versus Derek Brunson. There is a lot going on. There's a lot to discuss. But Chael, about that main event and about the history of heavyweight title fights in boxing in this building, I mentioned the fight of the century, of course, Holyfield Lewis. The greats have all fought here, and they've all been great fights, and they're immortalized on these walls. The difference tonight is, of course, it's an MMA fight, but the buildup has been unlike anything we've ever seen in combat sports. Dare I say it has been a fast food war heading into tonight. If you missed any of it, here's a quick catch-up.
I've already got a challenge in the back. Derrick Lewis told me that he was gonna knock me out right before we walked out of here. He's been sizing me up since I got back there and calling me small. He's like, well, you're a lot smaller than everybody up here. That's rude, Derrick.
What's your issue with Daniel?
I wanna know too.
He disrespected Popeye's chicken on a commercial a few years ago.
I'm all about that cake and chicken. I'm all about that cake and chicken. I'm all about that cake.
Chael, dare I say, after the emotionally charged main event last month in Las Vegas,
Sure.
Politics, family got involved. This has been a breath of fresh air. It all started with Popeye's chicken.
How do I possibly respond to this level of ridiculousness? How far are we going to go with this? Look, these two men have to fight. Derrick Lewis is ranked number 2 in the world. Derrick Lewis came off with an upset over Volkan around a month ago, okay?
This
Daniel
is how far
Cormier,
we're going, Chael.
Yeah, I guess. Are we going to get to something serious? Look, Carl's Jr. and Popeye Chicken. What does a man of my talent do with something so silly?
Well, you know why there's a Carl's Jr. logo.
Well,
let me
let's
explain.
continue this.
This has become a fast food war, Chael. What happened was on Monday, Daniel Cormier told a story that 10 years ago he used to sleep on Bob Cook, his head coach's couch. In fact, his floor, I should say. And all day, all he could afford was Carl's Jr. He used to eat Carl's Jr. all day, had wrappers all over the place. Well, Carl over at Carl's Jr. found out about this and has come out in support of Daniel Cormier. They are Team DC. You see the tweets right there.
Yes.
This is very big. But Chael,
I guess so.
the ante was up later on in the week when Popeye's Chicken, the Louisiana-based Popeye's Chicken, announced that they are Team Derrick Lewis, that they believe that he is defending their honor, and his manager, Malki Kawa, announced that a certain location in Houston is going to give out free Popeyes if he wins. Well, guess what? I asked both men about all of this a couple of days ago. Here's a quick catch-up on all of that, Chael.
I'm more happy about the Popeyes contract than the UFC contract.
It's very sad because he's a Texas kid. Hey, Popeyes, you're siding with a guy that openly said he doesn't even support the Saints anymore. I am a diehard Saints fan, and you turn your back on me.
You know, he shouldn't have disrespected in the first place, and we wouldn't even be in this situation. Now, I'm really here just to fight him just because Popeye had to say so of it.
Carl's Jr. will side with me I'm going to go to Carl's Jr., give away free burgers, and then we'll work out something.
If you win or regardless?
It's not if with me. It's when I win.
If I win, he better not be in that line getting free Popeyes.
Someone said, are you going to ever eat their food again? As much as I want to say no, it's just not true. It's just not true. I'm going to eat the chicken.
Chael, this is good stuff right here. This is
Well,
gold.
That
You don't
turned
get
into
this
something
anywhere else.
fun. I suppose that turned into something fun.
Okay, biggest question of the night.
Okay.
What is actually better? Because I have to be honest with you, I've never actually tried Popeyes or Carl's Jr.
Yeah.
What's actually better?
Well, they're both very good. If I had to choose one, I actually really enjoy Popeyes, and I'll give you one caveat, though. They have a chicken sandwich of all things. Not even what they're proud of.
Wow.
I think their chicken sandwich fantastic. I think their bread is underrated. They need to start adding some cheese.
Okay.
You get a sandwich
right.
there, they don't have cheese. That's
okay,
weird.
guys. Well, if you're listening, please listen to Chael P. Sonnen. Okay, that's all well and good, Chael. But again, we
Is
are
it?
here. No, it's
Is
not.
it well and
you want
good?
to talk more about
I
it?
want to move on. Yes, I want to get to a fist fight.
Well, there is a fist fight happening
Great.
tonight. And guess what, Chael? As of right this moment, what time is it? It's around
Nobody knows.
9:07
impossible
p.m.
to know
We're
for
live
sure.
right now.
Yeah.
We're live. As of right this second, only 6 men in the history of mixed martial arts have ever headlined at the Mecca, Madison Square Garden. Their names, Conor McGregor, Eddie Alvarez, George St. Pierre, Michael Bisping, Vanderlei Silva, and Chael P. Sonnen. How about that?
Well, let's hear it for
what
the
a
boys.
distinction.
Yeah.
You've been here before. You fought under these lights. Is it any different?
No, I will tell you that honestly is
Well, way to
not.
ruin it.
And I think that sounds terrible.
Yeah.
I think that's a terrible thing to say because you are correct with the history. You are correct with the importance. But I will tell you this as a fighter. When you go through this process, you learn what your process is. You learn how much do I need to sleep the night before? What kind of music do I need to listen to? Who do I need to talk to? Who do I need to have in my circle? How much am I going to warm up? And eventually you walk out there and you want to always be prepared as an athlete to do that anywhere. There is no home court or home cage advantage in this sport. They set that octagon up, you follow the unified rules, and you move forward. So no, there is not. These guys will not feel an added pressure. They won't feel anything special. They are going to go in there under the unified rules in the heavyweight division, and they're going to fight.
Okay, you talk about pressure. Great word, especially going into this fight. Is there any way to argue against the fact that all the pressure is on Daniel's shoulders? Not only is he defending his title, but he's got the pound-for-pound discussion on the table. He's got the GOAT discussion on the table. He's got the potential Brock Lesnar fight on the horizon, on the table. John Jones, etc. Derrick has nothing to lose here, right?
Sure. No, I think that's very fair. Listen, I will also tell you, I think a little bit too much is made out of pressure. One of the things that can happen when you feel the pressure is it can create an added stress, and that stressful environment will create fatigue. That is the only thing that word has to do with it. Anybody else that talks about the pressure is looking for an excuse to justify why they lost. This is not going to affect somebody like Daniel Cormier. But it is also fair to say that the adverse side of the coin is also real, which when Derrick Lewis doesn't have all of those things to lose, he just has to go out there and compete to the best of his abilities. When we see the great upsets in history, and Ariel, in fairness to you, in fairness to our viewers in the sport, it is the most compelling thing that I can tell you as to why to watch this fight, because there is an opportunity of an upset. I do not feel that their skills are that close. As a fellow fighter, if I could have one of their skills, what's the scenario? A genie pops out of the bottle and you get a wish, but you can have one of their skills without even taking a moment to think about it. I take Daniel Cormier's, but he does have a size deficit. He has been hit before. Rumble Johnson not only knocked him down, he knocked him head over tea kettle. John Jones not only connected, he put him out and won the fight. This is another level of power. The other side of that coin, I think that it's going to be a different level of speed that's going to favor Daniel Cormier.
And I do believe, according to our crack staff, if Derrick Lewis wins this fight, he would be the biggest heavyweight underdog to ever win a UFC heavyweight title. We just saw them weighing in yesterday. Of note, Daniel Cormier weighs in the heaviest he's ever weighed in at for a UFC/Strikeforce fight. He told us yesterday he actually weighed 253 against Sol Paleli. Pre-UFC/Strikeforce. What do you make of him weighing 251
Well,
yesterday?
I appreciate you bringing it up because that's a very relevant talking point. Listen, Daniel Cormier, and it's more the reason that he weighed 251 pounds. The reason he did is he took this fight on just over 3 weeks' notice. He publicly said, I got a bad hand. Well, what does that tell us? That means he's not training. If you have a bad hand, you're not in training. That's why his weight is high. What that also will tell us is that his condition is a little bit down. Daniel Cormier never quits when he's tired. He's never had a conditioning issue. He's also never taken a fight on this short of notice and weighed in at 251 pounds. It's relevant.
Okay. Cormier, as you said, had the busted hand. I spoke to him a week before he accepted the fight. He's like, I'm not fighting this year. I need to get the hand better, all this and more. lest we forget, less than a month ago, Derrick Lewis fought at UFC 229, the last pay-per-view, and he beat Alexander Volkov that night. And on the mic, he said, I don't want a title shot, I need to take a break and whatnot. The short notice, the quick turnaround here, who does it actually favor? Is it possible that that's the one thing that favors Derrick Lewis heading into this fight because he just fought?
I think that's right, because he's in shape. What does it mean that he just fought? It means he just came out of a training camp. And for a guy his size, don't forget he drops a few pounds to beat the scale the night before. He had to drop a few pounds. He had to stay in shape. He'd gone through that entire process. Plus, he had a little confidence. Plus, he had a little pep in his step. Plus, he beat a guy that had just beaten Fabricio Verdum. Fabricio Verdum, I should remind you, beat Cain Velasquez, who I should remind you is Daniel Cormier's coach. So if you want to follow the numbers and do the math, look, there's something special to see here.
You brought up a great point yesterday.
That sounds right. That sounds like me.
It's typical for you, I must say. But this one really stuck with me overnight. You mentioned back in the day, Mike Tyson once weighed in between fights 8 pounds heavier.
Yes.
And everyone was losing their mind.
Yes.
How could he weigh in so much heavier? Blah, blah, blah. Why does it seem like Daniel Cormier gets better the bigger he gets?
You know, I have given that a lot of thought, and I do appreciate you bringing that up. I don't know, Ariel, if we fully know Daniel Cormier's optimal weight. I saw him in college go at 184 pounds. I saw him go at 197 pounds when he made the Olympic team. It was at 211 pounds. He then dropped down, won the UFC World Championship at 205 pounds. We watched him capture the heavyweight championship at 248 pounds, and people thought that was too big, including his own coaches who said, we'd really like him to weigh in at 243. So Daniel goes, well, I'm pretty close. I'm within 5 pounds. But in this sport, that isn't close. Most guys would say you're not prepared, your fitness level is off. But he keeps proving us wrong. We don't know his optimum weight. And I'll also remind you of this, if I may, but he did one season in amateur wrestling at 265 pounds, weighed about 260, but he went undefeated. So we don't truly know what size Daniel is the best Daniel.
What an honor it is to be here for the first ever UFC heavyweight title fight at Madison Square Garden, the company's third trip to the Mecca. They've been here in 2016, 2017, and now again tonight. It's a fun card coming up. We're less than an hour away from the pay-per-view main card, and of course, there are some notable fights in the middleweight division, as you can see. The rest of the card is all middleweights. Derek Brunson, Israel Adesanya, Carl Roberson, Jack Marshman, David Branch, Jared Cannonier, and the fight that Chael Sonnen has called his main event, the fight that Chael Sonnen has called the people's main event, involves Jacare Souza against Chris Weidman, Long Island's own Chris Weidman. The Chris Weidman who fought on the very first card here at Madison Square Garden and was knocked out by Yoel Romero. Chael and I could talk about Chris all day long, but let's talk to a man who actually knows Chris Weidman personally, who actually trains with Chris Weidman over at Serra Longo on Long Island, the Funk Master in the house. Aljamain Sterling, how are you, my friend? Welcome.
I'm good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Did we finally work it out? We knew we were going to be doing this show together. We finally worked it out. They all thought they were teasing you in the beginning,
Yeah.
but here we are. Nice to see you, friend.
Nice to see you guys. Familiar faces.
It's a
I love
pleasure.
it.
Absolutely. You're looking great as always. You got the chain. I want to talk to you about Chris in a second, but want to mention you and Ally Quinta, your teammate, were front and center earlier in the night. Matt Frivola with a great fight ended in a draw against Lando Venata. Do you agree? That was, by the way, if anyone missed it, when we're done, go find that fight because it was incredible, one of the fights of the year. But do you agree with the judges on that one?
I don't know. I thought our guy won rounds 1 and 3. Sick fight, though. Either way, we kind of got beat up a little bit in the second round, but I think he came back through adversity in that third round, and I thought he edged him out a little bit. But, you know, a draw is always better than a loss.
Absolutely.
So.
That's for sure.
Tremendous fight, and I'd love to see it again if they're going to rematch after the draw. Okay, now let's talk about Chris Weidman. He hasn't fought since July of 2017. He's been through a lot, the 2 surgeries. You've been in the gym with him, and I don't want to ask the typical how's training camp been. We're almost there. Give us the real insight. Is he the same guy? Is he a little rusty? Are we worried tonight? What's the truth?
Definitely not worried. If there's anybody I'm never worried about, it's Chris Weidman. That guy is phenomenal. Sick athlete, super competitive, and he always comes up to show up on fight night. So I'm really looking forward to this. I think this fight's a little bit different. Obviously, it's not the grudge matchup with Luke Rockhold and trying to get that win back. But I think with this one, it still kind of gives him Jacare won that fight in Strikeforce, I believe?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think
against Luke, he actually lost.
Oh,
Split decision. Jacare lost. Big upset.
So if a split decision, if he goes out there and finishes him, I think that puts a huge feather in his cap and really shows that maybe he really is the next guy in line for the next title shot.
Oh, absolutely. If he finishes Jacare, if he even beats Jacare is great. I want to ask you this, though. Look, you got Chris Weidman, world champion in mixed martial arts, but he's known as the All-American because he was an All-American wrestler. But here's the question.
4-time.
Is it a smart strategy to take Jacare down. Is that what he's going to try to do? Or is he going to try to use some of that boxing? Or do you not want to tell me? Any answer is okay, but I am curious.
I think you never go shy away from your strong points, and I think he does everything well that Jacare does, and I think he does some things a little bit better, which is the wrestling department. So he takes him down, puts him against the cage, cheese grater is what I call it, against the cage, and makes it a dirty fight. I think he beats him up with some elbows. He's got the long reach advantage. I think he's going to really surprise some people that his grappling is just as good, if not better, than Jacare's tonight.
I believe this matchup is better for Chris than the original Luke Rockhold fight for two reasons.
Why is that?
A, he lost to Rockhold, so I feel like there's some confidence issue perhaps there. I know he wanted to get back, but, he doesn't have a history with Jacare. And B, I just actually think stylistically it's a better matchup. I think he's a better MMA grappler. I think he's a better striker than Jacare. I like this matchup better. Am I crazy?
I don't know if I like it better, because I did want to see him get some redemption.
Yeah.
Obviously, everyone wants to get redemption.
Take aside, like the emotion, just the
take an
matchup.
emotion out of it. I think in terms of Jacare's stand-up, it's super heavy-handed. He just throws big bombs, and outside of that, his grappling is world-class. Don't get me wrong. I think he's phenomenal on the ground. But I think Chris, 80cc, I think he could grapple with anyone in the world. My thing is he's super competitive. That guy does not like to lose. Ping pong, basketball, this guy, rap battles. We have our rap battles. It's insane. I'm going to say I get the edge, but he'll never say that.
He doesn't like to lose.
He doesn't like to lose, so he works pretty hard, man. And so I'm just really excited. Been a long time coming. The first surgery didn't go so well.
Right.
The second one, he's come back a lot stronger, so he's been looking really sharp in the training camps, and I'm just super excited. And as you saw me for Matt Favola, man, I get pumped up whenever our guys fight. It's like I'm out there fighting as well.
We try not to get too emotional for the fight. You try to be unbiased. My heart broke for him when he lost to Romero in this building, because I know how – we have to be honest, like Chris did a lot to try to get this sport legalized, right? He did all those trips to Albany. I know all you guys did. But when he was champion, they kind of used him to really push the issue of getting the sport legalized here in New York. Did he ever talk to you behind the scenes about how much that meant to him and really wanting to get back to this building to try to right that wrong, to try to get a W here?
Yeah, a little bit. I've had my loss, my knockout loss as well to Marlon Moraes. And we talked about it. I actually asked him, like, when is the right time for me to come back, and like how much time should I probably take off, because I know we kind of dealt with the same thing, him, Vellante, and just asking these guys around, and that's a tough loss to come back from. I was just really glad he came back, especially against the fight against Gastelum, finishing the guy who's now fighting for the world title himself against Robert Whittaker. So that was a sick fight, and it's losing like that in front of your home crowd, in front of everyone that comes out here. You've done all the work to get this here, and then that happens. No one wants to go out that way. So to come back here, I think is just huge. Redemption time. There's so much that goes into this. It's going to be a super emotional night for him. I know it. And for him to get the win tonight, get his hand raised in front of everybody, it's going to be a moment in life that he will never forget.
All right, I know what your ultimate prediction is for the victor, but how do you see it coming? Can Chris get him out of there? Can he get him down and grind him out? Are we going to go in 3 rounds?
My honest answer, unbiased, I think Chris gets him out of there in 3 rounds.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah, gets him out inside of it.
I think ground and pound. I really do think so. I don't know if he's going to submit him. I mean, Jacare has been submitted with guys on his back before, getting on his back and choking him out. But I think with the fight, it's so different. With the embracing the grind of wrestling is so much different when it comes to a fight. It's different. Not a lot of guys know what that wrestling pressure feels like. I feel like Jacare, when he fought Whittaker, he kind of, flopped to the ground a little bit. He was okay with sitting on his back, especially against Gastelum, sitting on his back a little bit, wanted the guy to play his game. I think Chris is going to be smart, take him down, dump him a few times, beat him up a little bit with some ground and pound, soften him up, and eventually that finish is going to come.
Okay, so that's the Chris Weidman story, but let's talk about you a little bit. Coming off a big win, coming off 2 big wins, I would say. You talk about that Marlon Moraes loss. There were a lot of questions, I think. How would Aljo respond from that, right? I think you've shut up all those critics, and in particular in your last fight, it really felt like the old Aljo was back. Would you agree?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Old Aljo was back and better, in my opinion.
We're looking at some of that footage right here if you want to talk about it.
Yeah, man. Cody Stamann, man, he talked a lot of crap, and especially us going back and forth in the DMs on Instagram.
DMs?
Oh,
yeah,
even on
He
privately.
slid? Who slid first?
I actually messaged him one time, and I was like, here, Cody.
You initiated it.
The first time, but then he started posting some stuff like, I'm going to make you dab again, and posting screenshots of me knocked out. I was like, oh, that burns, but I like where your head's going.
Okay.
I like how competitive you're making this. Now there's a lot more that rides on this fight, and I got to go out there and really shut this kid up.
Yes, and I think you did that. Now
So
who's
what's next?
Yes,
yeah,
that
I'm with
was it.
Ariel. What's next?
The division is super weird right now. I'm just hoping I can get another chance at the top 5 and really cement my chance and my case to challenge for a world title after that. So I know if I go out there and have another impressive performance, I think I should have the title shot in my sights and knock it down this time.
Great stuff, my man. Thank you for visiting with us. Good luck in your next fight, whoever that may be against. And, of course, good luck tonight to you, the team, Chris Weidman, everyone. Can't wait for it.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me.
All right, there he is, Aljamain Sterling, the Funk Master himself. And you are looking at the UFC bantamweight rankings right here. And now, of course, the champion is one TJ Dillashaw. Cody Garbrandt still number 1. Dominic Cruz looking to get back in action. Rafael Sunsao, Marlon Moraes, Jimmy Rivera, John Lineker.
Well, it is on the screen.
Yeah, but you can make a case, Chael. I know I'm reading it, but maybe someone's like washing their dishes or ordering pizzas or getting ready for fight night or the main card on pay-per-view. This is pound for pound one of the best divisions in the UFC
I agree with that.
Right?
Yeah, I agree with that. And it looks like perhaps it's going to get a little bit more crowded. I mean, it looks like with DJ gone, some of the rumors that we're hearing, who knows what's going to happen here. Is Cejudo going to pop up? Listen, gets a little exciting.
Yes, I hear there's a lot of talk about that. Cejudo going up to 135 as TJ going down. I think that's a mistake. We talked about this on Wednesday. Ariel the Bad Guy, ESPN Plus. Check it out. We both agree. Actually, is it fair to say you didn't agree, but then I turned you into a believer?
You won me over. Yeah.
In less than 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's right.
That they should not shut down the 125-pound division.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. If they didn't like who was at the head of it, well, guess what? There's a new head of it. His name's Henry Cejudo. Maybe let's see where it goes.
Yeah, not only Henry Cejudo, I'm talking about an Olympic gold medalist.
Yeah.
I'm talking about a guy
named Henry Cejudo.
Yeah,
it's all the same guy.
3 languages and things like
just
that.
Let you know.
Chael, there's I feel like something's about to happen here, but let me just I saw something off in this is very dark, but I feel like something's about to happen. Hold your horses. Things are going on. Things are going on as we speak. They're telling me to be cool, but things are going on as we speak. I recognize
Things are
that
going
guy.
on, Mr. Sonnen.
Ben
I
Askren.
recognize that
How
guy.
are you guys doing?
I recognize
What are
this
you
guy.
doing here?
Well, I don't know if you've been
buddy.
paying attention to the news or not, but, there's been some news this week, and I'm coming here. It's the beginning of the funky era, and I figure I better put the whole welterweight division on blast, not only on Twitter, but also on TV. Because, listen, here's what happened.
Okay.
Since I got signed, I went on Twitter. I called everyone out. They're acting like a hot ostrich. They're putting the head in the stands, and they think if they can't see me, I'm not going to pull their card. Well, that's just not how it's going down. I'm going to come here to the UFC, and I'm going to tell them who I'm picking, okay? And it might be Colby Covington, and he hasn't said anything back to me because he's got intellectual deficiencies that he does not want me to expose. He knows if he gets in a war for words, there ain't no way in hell he's winning that one, son, okay? The next one I got, Nick and Nate Diaz, they didn't say nothing on Twitter. I'm going to give them a pass. They're probably too high to even realize what's going on. We're going to give them a pass on that one. We got Darren Till. This guy's running his mouth on Twitter. And listen, he got so scared. He moved up a division. He said, I ain't fighting welterweight anymore. I'm going to go middleweight. That's how scared Darren Till is. And I told him, you don't even got to come to America. I'll come to London in March. They just announced the show. He said, dude, I'm not a welterweight anymore because Ben Askren's in this division. He's gone. I'm scaring them all. So listen, now I'm on Twitter. Any of you welterweights that want to come get some, I'm right here. I'm right here. I'm not hard to find. Go tell Dana. I want to fight Funky. I want to be the one. And Chael, you know this. When a new wrestler comes on the scene, whether it's the college scene, internationally, everyone wants to be the first to tear his butt up.
Sure.
Not these jabronis. They're hiding.
I have been a little surprised. Darren Till has. First off, I must tell you.
I can't. What is that? I don't even know what's
think
going on.
we've said a word, but
No.
I must commend you. I mean, you didn't have to get all dressed up for us.
Hey.
Huh? This is just a little
It's a
startup
funky show.
organization known as ESPN. You look fantastic, Ben.
Thank
I'm
you.
very
I
happy to
appreciate
see
it.
you.
Amazing.
Fantastic promo. Can I give you my prediction?
Let's go.
I mean,
I
if
want
we're
to hear
talking about your career, okay, Darren Till seems like the most likely suspect. Darren Till's been firing back. Darren Till took this. He was hot under the collar. He just lost to your protege / teammate / friend, Tyron Woodley. That one seemed to make the most sense to me.
Okay, can I take a step back here?
Yeah, bring the heat. Come on, baby.
I feel like we're sort of burying the lead here.
Who's the
Ben
lead?
Askren at a UFC event at MSG. They've yet to acknowledge your presence, or am I wrong?
Listen,
What?
if people don't acknowledge my presence,
Are
I
you
just
in
kicked
the
the door
UFC?
down, Ariel.
Yeah, is this the announcement, by the
Are
way?
you in the
Is
UFC?
this
Let's
the
announce it.
announcement?
I'm in the UFC.
All right.
We already knew. Listen,
we already knew that by the welterweights' reaction because when I wasn't in the UFC, they all had something to say on Twitter. I'm on the UFC now, and they're like, nowhere to be found. You know, it's like you came into that old Western town. Chael loves Western movies, and you got your guns drawn, and you're ready for a fight. And you show up, and all of a sudden there ain't nobody there. They're all running to the back of the room, hoping that you don't find them first. That's what happened.
They are absolutely shook, as the kids say. Now, let me ask you this. Earlier this week, you told me you were coming to New York to talk about a new deal.
Yes.
It's Saturday night. Do you have a new deal?
I'm pretty sure we got the deal done.
You did?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Well done.
Yeah,
Things went well?
absolutely.
Did you meet with Dana White?
I have not met with Dana.
Still?
I'm looking forward to that. Listen, he's somewhere in the building. Dana, I'll come find you, too. I know you're in here somewhere. I don't know where you are. I'll come find you.
No, wait,
The deal's done, though, Chael.
That was the question. Is it actually signed? You are in the UFC.
Well,
no
it's
more
not. The pen hasn't been put to
Okay.
paper, but everything's been agreed
All right.
upon. I'm pretty sure we're good to go.
I mean, you're in the building. The octagon's behind us. I want to say this.
Are
is
you
an
happy with the
announcement,
deal?
I'm happy. Yeah, it was a very good
What
deal.
are the terms? Can you tell us?
No, I can't tell. Ariel, you know
Why?
I can't tell you that.
Number of fights?
I'll probably be here for the rest of my career.
Wow, you're going to
Yeah.
retire in the UFC.
Well, that's what it sounds like, yeah.
Okay,
then
well,
look-
sorry.
look-
Do you have your debut fight?
That was my question.
My man.
I don't know that I can say that.
Why?
I think that I do.
You've
I
been
think
doing
I
whatever
got
you want.
put the hook out there. I'm reeling one of these suckers in.
Leaning towards 2018, leaning towards 2019.
Yeah, we got to
We'll ask it like
to
that.
be in 2019. I mean,
Okay.
we don't have barely any time left in 2018. And obviously, I when I said I was retired unless I got to fight someone higher ranked than me, I meant it. I really legit meant it. You know, I was getting ready to wrestle in Midlands, which I know you were pumped about. So I started training on September 1st.
Oh,
I've been
don't tell me
wrestling
that's
quite a
off.
bit.
Is that off?
Well, it depends on my fight date.
Okay.
Depends on my fight date.
And I don't mean to interrupt here because I'm not.
We're
letting
talking
you off-
wrestling.
I'm not letting you off the hook, but we should acknowledge there are fights going on, and Sajara Eubanks just won
Oh,
to
but
a
she didn't
chorus
make
of
weight.
boos, and she
Get
has
outta
been
here.
sort of the target of your Twitter action. Did
Well,
you get a chance to see any?
Yeah,
of
you
her?
know what? It's more. Listen, I'm gonna sound like an old man,
Yeah.
but that's gonna listen. This generation, sometimes you got to earn some shit, right?
Right.
I was 18 and I've been in this game for 9 years. This woman's 3-2 and she wants to be the headliner of MSG. Give me a break. Get out of here. Then you bitch about not making weight, or bitch about not being the headliner, and you don't make weight.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
Can you stay all night? Do you have anywhere to be?
I don't got
Is there
anywhere to
any
be.
reason to ever
No,
say
let's
goodbye
go.
to Ben Askren?
We can just keep going all night long.
Ariel, may I jump in real
Please,
fast?
go
Wait, can I pick on Colby again?
Well,
Because I don't like him. And I know, listen, I'm not going to ask you to not like him because you're from Oregon. I get it, right? I get it. But he's going to get beat up by Tyron Woodley next. I think we see the writing on the wall on that one. But once Tyron mows him down, I'm going to clean up the scraps.
oh, you'll take him off a loss, you're
There
saying?
ain't going to be nothing
Okay.
left with Colby.
Well,
I'll
we're
take
off a
Colby
win.
in the parking lot of Madison Square Garden if that's where Colby wants to do it.
Here's my question. I have been following this story, and we do have a couple of clues. Demetrius to 1, Ben Askren to the UFC. I think that this is the announcement where the ink dryer's not. But Dana White did come out. He said you were going to be at welterweight, and he said he would take on a top 5 guy. Which brings us to Tyron Woodley. Match isn't happening. Brings us to Colby Covington. Brings us to Darren Till. Brings us to Dos Santos, whose dance card is full.
Sanjo.
That's exactly right, and it brings us to Robbie Lawler. So my question is,
You forgot Stephen Thompson.
I forgot Stephen
But karate
Thompson.
doesn't work on me,
But
so
if-
let's just forget about him.
If Dana White is to be taken at his word, and I think the term a top 5 guy isn't always a literal term, that means he's going to be taking on a high-quality opponent. But should we take him at his word? Those are the 5 guys. So where does Ben fall?
Ben, why don't you tell us?
I don't know where I fall. I'm
But
gonna
you
wait.
do- there-
Listen, well, we know. I think Colby and Tyron are fighting. I think
Yeah.
we can deduce that one, right?
Yeah.
Dos Anjos is fighting Usman, so they're both off table. That leaves me with 3 victims: Till, Thompson, Lawler. I already told you, Till's so scared he moved weight class. Listen, Ariel, did you not? He went to middleweight. He heard I was at welterweight. He just left. He got up and started stuffing his face, eating ice cream, brown, everything. Well, gone. He's middleweight. So we got 2 left.
Do you have a preference?
Thompson, karate doesn't work on me. I'll just tell him that much, so he might as well just give up. And Lawler, man, you know what? I don't like to pick on Lawler because I actually like Robbie Lawler.
He's a good guy.
He's a nice guy, but I'll fight him. Listen, I didn't come here. I got Tyron Woodley. We've been close. We've been close since we were 17.
Yeah.
Besides that, I'll take on all comers.
Did you used to wrestle Lawler in the ASU days? I
We
saw
wrestled one time.
Aaron Simpson got involved
Aaron
in this.
Simpson, I don't know what he was talking about. We wrestled, and Robbie Lawler was surprisingly tough to take down.
Okay.
Nevertheless, I took him down many times.
Okay.
He did not get any on me.
All right.
I didn't know that piece of history.
Yes, well, he was at Power MMA for a couple years there back in the day.
Yeah.
Yep, and so now...
No, wait, you guys worked out in a workout
just
room?
one time.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
I thought you
time.
said AAU, which used to be an organization.
No.
ASU.
Oh, ASU. I understand.
Yes,
okay.
ASU, yep.
All right.
And can I just ask, what is it like for you to be here? This is MSG.
Man, I got
You're UFC.
swarmed.
This is amazing, right?
Yeah, you know what? I think early in my career, it's funny because my career's been... In college, I was a crowd favorite because I was from an underdog program and I went and won, right? People don't do that. Beginning of my fight career, I was the bad guy. No one liked me, right? And now, I think people realize my opportunity to fight the guys who are better than me is so far overdue. They're just overjoyed to see it happen. I mean, it's like I'm in this joint with 19,000 old friends. They're giving me high fives. They're saying, Ben, let's do this. It's overdue. Let's go.
You're the people's champ.
I'm the people's champ. So even if the UFC doesn't want to acknowledge my presence, the people are acknowledging my presence. And the people have a lot of power.
Yes, and guess what? We here at ESPN, and in particular, Chael and I, we acknowledge
Yeah, we acknowledge it. We acknowledge it. You're on fire, buddy.
We welcome you. We have to say goodbye, but I want to ask you one quick question before we let you go. Daniel Cormier, 2008 Olympic teammate. What does he have to do from your perspective to ensure that the upset doesn't happen tonight?
Oh, I think this is an easy fight. I mean, Daniel, I was telling people I used to bet on Daniel all the time because he's so smart. He's not going to go out there and do something stupid. He knows the easiest way to win. You go out there, boom, double A, take him down, punch him in the face a whole bunch of times. The ref's going to say, I've seen enough of this. It's going to be over pretty quick.
Chael, this is one of the greatest debuts in the history of the sport. Like what he has done over the past 2 weeks.
Yes.
You're a man who knows showmanship.
For sure.
This is phenomenal stuff,
This is
right?
phenomenal. This is phenomenal. I think as we do that breakdown where I'm looking at those two guys between Thompson and Lawler, I mean, let's see what happens there. But I still will tell you, as a fan, I hope it's Till. I hope Till returns to the division. I think it makes
Chael
sense.
got scared. He ate the ice cream. He's got eating thing. You know, some people got eating things when they're scared.
And my holiday's ruined if I don't see you and Zahid. No pressure. A lot of people won't know what we're talking about between us.
Magical stuff. Thank you for stopping by. It was very nice of you. No one extended the invitation, but I appreciate it.
Here's your hat. What's your hurry?
And quite frankly, I wish you could stay.
Well,
I'm out of here, Ariel.
Hello to Miss Amy and the girls, by the way.
Ben, you're the man. Congratulations. Can't wait for your debut. There he is, the funky one, Ben Askren. If you're not familiar with him, 18-0.
Which is just like my record, Ariel, only much, much better.
Absolutely. Undefeated, undisputed, the former one championship welterweight champion, the former Bellator welterweight champion. He is coming to the UFC Octagon. Chael, we've only done 2 of these Twitter pre-shows. That was the greatest moment in the history of the Twitter pre-show.
I thought that was a lot of fun. I mean, listen, he came in here, he had a message, and he delivered his message. I also thought he delivered us with some clues. I will tell you, my detective skills were going off. I thought that he effectively narrowed it down for us to Thompson and Lawler. I will also effectively tell you, as good of fights as those are, those surprised me. Of all the dialogue that's gone on between Ben, of all the dialogue that's come back at him from other welterweights, I don't know that any has come from Thompson and Lawler, but a great contest nonetheless, should we see it.
Absolutely, and well said. So it has been a very busy week in the world of mixed martial arts. Trades are happening, big fights are being made. Ben Askren is coming to the UFC. And how about Johnny Bones Jones? Arrives yesterday here in New York City for the UFC 232 press conference, where one manager in particular has been at the forefront of all of that. He helped orchestrate the trade between Demetrius Johnson and Ben Askren. He helped get the deal done for John Jones to return at UFC 232. His guy, Derrick Lewis, is headlining tonight here at Madison Square Garden. You're seeing him right there, manager to the stars. Look at that mug. Malki Kawa. By the way, in that picture, you're probably like 100 pounds heavier than you are right now, my
30
friend.
40 pounds heavier.
Look at you.
You do look fantastic, buddy.
I
Good
appreciate
job.
it, brother.
Huh?
Thank
What are you
you,
doing?
man.
Like paleo exercise? What is going on?
Just eating good and exercising.
Good
yeah,
man.
pretty much.
Congratulations.
I like to give you a hard time from time to time. I think the last 2 weeks for you, when you consider Derrick Lewis and the title shot, when you consider the Popeyes deal you struck, John Jones, Demetrius, this might be the best 2 weeks of your career. Am I wrong?
Might be. It could be. No, it could be. You're absolutely right.
I'm being honest. I'm not trying to diminish it. You're killing
Listen,
it.
Ariel, I literally one day got on my knees and I prayed. I said, God, listen, I don't know what you got going on for me. You know what I mean? But I know something big is going to happen. And literally one day to the next, it just started to think from the USADA decision with John to this, to this, to that. It's just you know what I mean? So it's one of those things. You know, you have a nice run, and then sometimes you don't. But right now, it's been a good run.
Can I switch gears real fast? Because he brings up Jon Jones. That press conference yesterday, if you want to put it in baseball terms, was a grand slam.
1,000%.
I thought Jon said the right things. I thought he looked fantastic. I thought he was polite. And even the push at the end, quite frankly, had a little bit of an elbow and a wink between two former competitors. I thought, boom, Jon Jones is back. The past is now in the past.
I agree, 1,000%. I thought everything you just said, I told him the same exact thing.
What's going on up here with Jon, though? Like, how is he behind the scenes? Do you feel like his mojo's back? Do you feel like he's put all that behind him?
1,000%.
What could you tell us?
I think he's looking forward to December 29th more than anything, so he can really cement, you know what I mean, himself and put all the stuff in the past. So I think he knows it's all behind him already, but he's, working towards the 29th.
He says all the right things about DC headlining tonight, being the double champion.
He means it.
It doesn't bother him at all?
He hasn't let up at all. He hasn't given me any sign that bothers him at all.
Really?
1,000%.
Is he going to be here tonight?
He should be. He might be. I don't know. It depends.
He actually picked against your guy, Derrick Lewis. He
listen,
says DC's going to win. What's up with that?
Here's the funny thing about it. So Jon and I always constantly bet, but he never pays up because he always loses to me. So he'll bet me that this guy's going to win, this guy's going to win, because Jon's a smart guy. He's like, oh, he's a wrestler, this one's not.
Sure.
And then usually he'll pick the wrestler over the guy who's not. So he's just basically going with DC, who's the second greatest fighter in the history of the sport. You know what I mean? To beat the guy that, doesn't have any wrestling.
Who's the greatest fighter?
Jon Jones.
Okay, I just wanted to make
sure. You didn't pick up on that?
Well, I just wanted to get it on the record.
Oh, you wanted it on the record.
He likes to start following. So then he'll get Bob Cook on here tomorrow or something like that. He's like, hey, you know what I mean? Malki said this and that. But the thing is that let's put it on the record. We're 2-0 against DC.
Right.
And undefeated against everybody else, including a bunch of former champions. So
sure.
Okay, I want to ask you about Derrick. Derrick got this title shot 2 days after telling the world he doesn't want a title shot. How did you get this done?
He got paid. No, he always wanted a title shot. That's what he was working for. You know what I mean? I think what happened is that he just, he's being real with himself at the moment. I think you see most fighters get in there, it wasn't my night, it wasn't this, it wasn't that. And then when he sits back and thinks about it and starts seeing what he did, I just knocked this guy out.
Sure.
So Derrick says a lot of things after fights. He says a lot of things before fights. You guys heard what he says he likes to eat before the fight comes?
Yes,
that was a very interesting quote. You know what I mean? I've been dealing with that one all week. So it's what do you call it?
What is the business of Derrick Lewis like over the past month? He's gained like 800,000 Instagram followers. You just signed a deal with Popeye's Chicken. It feels like he has become like this cult-like hero to many people.
I honestly believe that if he wins this fight right now, he's going to end up becoming one of the biggest stars in the UFC with, an arrow pointing up to really become a mega star because he says the right things. I think he engages, you know what I mean, a couple different demographics. It's just interesting to see. I just think he needs to win this fight, and he'll really be a big piece of business. Now, to answer your question, going back for this last month, it's been tremendous. It's been tremendous. There's been as much action on him as been any client that I have for any 1 month period.
You buy that, Chael?
Yeah.
He wins this fight. He's up there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You got to understand how much Derrick's star rose just by knocking a guy out in the third round and cutting a funny promo. You said it yourself. He went up 800,000. He landed himself in a title fight. Right. He said it himself. He landed himself a big payday.
To be honest with you guys, think about it this way. We get this Popeyes deal done, right? If I'm Popeyes, the right guy was supposed to be DC, the Louisiana guy who sat there with the chicken, who always says he loves Popeyes and all that. All Derrick said was, I want to beat you up because you disrespected the Popeyes.
Yeah.
When really, Derrick loves DC loves Popeyes.
Sure.
So the fact that Popeyes said, hey, we want to get behind this guy, right, was because of that promo and all that type of stuff.
Wow.
So absolutely, the business of Derrick Lewis is through the roof.
And who reached out to who first on that one?
We reached out to them first.
Smart.
There wasn't really not a lot of interaction at that point. I think they started to catch on with the whole, you know what I mean, thing with him. And then all of a sudden, we started getting a lot of dialogue.
That's a job well done on your part, to be a little aggressive there.
Listen.
I think not a lot of managers would do that.
I could really go for a piece of chicken right now.
Yeah, I know. We've talked a lot.
And Popeyes is the best chicken, by the way.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I've never had it.
No, dude, listen, I hadn't had it for a long time. There's Church's Chicken, and we have a supermarket in Florida called Publix, which has the best fried chicken. And in my office, all my guys, we argue all the time who has the best. So I was always arguing for Publix. So when Derrick Lewis got this whole thing, I said, you know what, let me just go try this so I don't want to be a phony. So we put both of them on the table, and Popeyes won, hands down.
Now, Chael, I believe, and I think you agree with me, DC does not he says he has 2 fights left, right? He says he has Derrick Lewis and Brock Lesnar. I don't believe he retires without fighting Jon again. And they're both all saying the same thing. 205 maybe. I think that they will fight again at heavyweight. I have no instinct on this. I have no information. That's just my gut. Am I wrong?
I think it depends on Jon. It's whatever Jon wants to do. Jon's a light heavyweight. He's made that clear to everybody. So I think that if he goes to heavyweight, it'll be because he wants to go to heavyweight, not because Cormier is the heavyweight champion. I mean, everything you heard him say yesterday was absolutely the truth. It's not personal to me. And the funny thing is that it really isn't personal to John.
Yeah, that seems to be a bit of the problem, though, that you brought up, is if Daniel wants this fight, and I tend to agree with you, when he says, I've got 2 left, I don't think Lewis is going to count. I think if he had it, Lesnar and then John Jones. But the problem is, John may not want to do that, and John doesn't need to do that because he won twice. So DC, in that theory, would need John to come up. That could be hard to do, you're saying.
1,000%.
Yeah.
I think the reality of it is if he's going to fight John again, if DC, let's just say that Derrick won this fight, right?
Yeah.
And then now he's had to somehow figure out a way to get his light heavyweight belt back. John's fighting for that belt December 29th.
Right.
So if they were to pass Gustafsson or whatever it might be, maybe that happens. I have no idea. You know what I mean? Obviously, he says DC says a bunch of things, but I have no clue what could or couldn't happen. But he'd have to come down to light heavyweight. I just don't see John going up to heavyweight anytime soon.
There was a time not that long ago, John was talking about fighting Brock Lesnar, fighting Stipe Miocic going up and all that
stuff. If you look at John's history, John's always liked to get the new challenges. I think Brock Lesnar's a new challenge, something that he definitely wants to do. It's the biggest fight John can have. He's already beat DC twice. He gets nothing out of beating him a 3rd time.
What do you think's a bigger fight? I'll ask Chael and then I'll ask you. John versus Lesnar, DC versus Lesnar?
John versus Lesnar.
By far. It's not even close.
Really?
Yeah.
Why do you say that,
I think
Chael?
it is close, but I think that's a bigger fight. Yeah.
Why?
And I will tell you, but it's not that easy. I don't want to pass over DC. I think they had that really great moment, a somewhat organic moment, even though Lesnar was scheduled to get in the ring with the push and the shot. I think you had something special there, but there just always appears to be something compelling and appealing about John Jones.
Right.
He's the greatest fighter of all time, Chael. He's the GOAT.
Do you agree with that, Chael?
I think that he's right up there. I would have that conversation amongst him and George St. Pierre. I would personally probably lean towards St. Pierre because of the 2 championships in weight classes, but it's a perfectly fair debate.
Well, I mean, listen.
And DC, if we're being fair, DC gets in there.
DC, listen, I think all those guys deserve to be up there, but I always go back to the bottom line. John, on his run, when he first became champion, beat every major champion at the light heavyweight division that it's ever had, minus Chuck Liddell and Tito Ortiz, which I don't think anyone cares to see him fight those guys. Right. So between Rashad and Lyoto and Rampage, he beat those guys. He beat them convincingly. No other champion's ever done that. I don't think there's a doubt in anyone's mind that if John went to heavyweight, he'd probably win and become the champion. So to me, it's kind of like, you're just winning a belt here and there because guys are, George St. Pierre went and beat Michael Bisping for the belt. Nothing against Michael Bisping, but he didn't beat, Anderson Silva for it. You get what I'm saying? So to me, it's kind of like, okay. I mean, imagine that's like us sitting back and waiting for, an easy guy at heavyweight who kind of falls into the fight and wins the belt, and then John saying, all right, I'm going to fight him and beating him and say, well, now he's the greatest because he won 2 belts in 2 weight classes. This is me personally speaking, I don't think that you just get that pass. That's like, so then you got to call Conor the greatest of all time for winning at 55 and, at 45.
2 different conversations. One is the greatest career of all time, and the other is the greatest fighter.
Conor gets that, I guess.
Yeah, it's the greatest fighter of
right.
all time. And it is interesting. Listen, I mean, what do we dance around? John's got asterisks against his name on 2 separate occasions. People are going to bring that up. They bring it up against Anderson Silva, and you're looking at somebody that sat on that side of the tracks, too. So I think it's a fun conversation if we're having it, but certainly John Jones is in it.
Yeah, but listen, John Jones and Lesnar is a way bigger fight. The numbers show that every single time. Stipe and DC didn't do that well as a fight, and I just think that if John and Lesnar were to fight, it'd probably be up there with we're looking at a 2 million pay-per-view buy type of thing, and I don't think that happens with DC and Lesnar.
Before I let you go, let me ask you about the trade stuff, right?
Okay.
So you orchestrated this trade, Demetrius Johnson to 1, Ben Askren to the UFC. We just had Ben on. Very exciting stuff. The MMA world's still sort of buzzing over all of this.
Right.
Is there any chance in the near future we see another trade? What do you got for us?
Let me tell you something. Because you keep asking me this question, I think I'm going to try to conduct another one.
Please.
All right. I want to see if I can make another one happen.
Got one? Do you have one on your mind?
Yeah. Listen, there's a couple guys that I think could possibly leave. I just don't know what ONE FC has or Bellator has to kind of trade with people.
Let's get creative.
So if there's something out there that works, then But I listen. Remember, I'm not sitting here trying to help other guys I don't represent. You know what I mean?
But your own guys. Have any of your own guys said to you, "Hey, Malki, you just did this for DJ"?
A couple guys called inquiring to see if there was any opportunities. Because the thing is, it's not even about going to ONE FC. It's more about the money, right? So some guys are hearing that the money on these deals, both Eddies and DJs, are huge. So they're like, hey, what's the numbers really like over there? And so, that's part of it. So the reality of it is, though, it's got to be the right guys, man. I can't just take any guy and say, hey, I have some guy I want to trade you.
You're managing Ben
No, I'm not managing
But you
Ben.
managed DJ.
I managed
Got
DJ.
it.
I made the deal happen for Ben, which was wild. And then Ben says to me, hey, I don't know if I want you to manage me because, you know, I've always been with these other guys who haven't managed me in like a couple years, but they've been good to me.
Sure.
So I told him to go F himself.
Well,
I just did it again right now, too, by the way.
Just right now?
Yeah, I
Did
told
you
him.
guys actually talk to
Yeah,
him?
I just said to him, you can
We
now
missed it.
I said, you can now thank me in person. And he started laughing. I did say thank you. I said, no, but we're supposed to like sit down and really do business. You wouldn't be in the UFC if it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
And he said, I know, but I mean, man, I got to go do this interview. Bye.
Wow.
Bro, just, you know what I'm saying? Come on, man.
I wish you
Well,
guys did.
telling a guy you can thank me is a little different than telling him to go F himself for the record.
Well,
mean,
I
which
said I had to
one
go do
was
this.
it?
Well, I said I had to go do. Listen, he's a professional fighter, so when
And
I
I
said to
know
him-
you well enough to know you would have said it. I'm just
he's
trying to get the
right,
story
right, no,
straight.
he's right, but Ben's not a bad guy, so I wouldn't say go F yourself. But I did say to him, while he was talking, I got to go do this other interview,
Sure.
which is the same as saying,
Yeah. I wish we got that on set here,
Scram.
Chael, if I'm being honest.
well, you guys saw me standing there. I don't know why you didn't bring me on.
I don't know. It was very dark back
Well,
there.
no,
I
it's
don't know
hard
if
for us
you,
to
yeah,
see,
it's
yeah.
very
Listen,
hard.
I was dying to come on here. I was about to walk back here, but then I figured you guys would say something to me, so I said, you know,
no,
let me not.
you could come.
Well, you know,
Anyone
we
could
are
come
making
here.
a show.
Me
There's a
cussing.
bit
I
of
mean,
order.
it's just like a-
It was probably the right move by you to wait.
A little respectful. I don't want to look like a,
respect,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? So you know how it goes.
Malki, good job. Great job. Thank you for
Yeah,
coming.
congrats, buddy.
And
Thanks
good
for
luck.
having us. I
Good luck
appreciate it.
tonight to Derrick Lewis. And really, congrats on a great 2 weeks for you guys at First Round Man.
2 weeks only, bro?
Well, in particular, 2 weeks, I'm saying.
Special
Jeez.
2 weeks.
Yeah,
Special 2 weeks, for
weeks.
sure.
Can you
And-
explain to him that I'm the greatest manager of all time
Your
as well?
brother is. Let's be honest. Your brother Abe
By
is.
far. And then
yeah.
Lou, by the way, the guy who really represents Derrick
Right.
in my office is Lou DeBono.
Yes, respect.
He's the man.
He is the man.
He is the
man. Malki, all
Appreciate
the best
you
to you
guys.
guys over at First Round Management. Big night for them this evening. Their guy Derrick Lewis fighting in the main event of UFC 230 against Daniel Cormier. If he wins this evening, if he pulls off the upset, he would in fact be the biggest heavyweight upset in the history of the UFC. Biggest upset, biggest underdog, I should specify, to win the heavyweight title. Started out as an 8-1 favorite. I believe the line has moved a little bit, so maybe some money coming in on Derrick, people wanting to take a flyer. But Chael, let's talk a little bit about the people's main event.
Sure.
Chris Weidman
Now we're
versus
talking.
Jacare
Yep.
Souza. This is the one that you have been looking forward to. This is the one that you said is the actual main event in your mind. Spoke to Chris earlier this week. Brett Okamoto of ESPN caught up with the former middleweight champion. Here's what he had to say about tonight's showdown against Jacare.
You expect to be an alternate for the Kelvin Gastelum Robert Whittaker fight. Do you know when that fight is?
You got to ask your boy Dana White. You know, all I know is that I was told that if I win this fight, I'd be ready. I'd be the replacement for that fight and fighting the winner if someone doesn't get injured. So. But all that doesn't mean crap. First of all, the UFC could change their mind on anything. One, they've done that many times. One, two, I gotta beat Jacare. I gotta beat a tough dude on Saturday night, and that's my focus. Jacare is a guy who's been on my radar for a long time, and he excites me as a competitor. He brings so much to the table, dangers that I can't wait to show my comfortability with.
I agree with you, Chael, when you say that this is a phenomenal fight, when you say that this is one of the more, if not the most interesting. To me, the fighter with the biggest question mark on him is that man, Chris Weidman.
Sure.
Hasn't fought in so long, wants the title shot back in New York. Do you agree with me on that?
Yeah, I certainly do. I think that's a compelling part of the story. I think the other part of the story that maybe even you and I haven't done a good job of telling is that Jacare took this on short notice.
Yeah.
Now, sure, this fight could have and should have happened up to 3 years ago. Could have and should have happened for Chris Weidman's World Championship. So in that regard, that's why I tell you, for me, this is the main event. I really do want to see it. But the other side of the coin is how prepared was Jacare? I can only tell you the eyeball test at the weigh-in. I can only tell you what I heard in his interviews. I thought he looked great. I thought he looked fantastic. I thought he was prepared for a fight. It just wasn't Chris Weidman, and something got jockeyed, and now he's in this spot. If I may, real briefly, I never want to come off on this show, working with you or in front of this audience, as a salesman to watch a pay-per-view. I simply don't want to do that.
Yep.
I get very excited as times, and I want to tell people, you don't want to miss this. So you can hear Ariel and I talk about it and see what we're excited about. I do want to tell you on this main event between Daniel Cormier, and I'm going back a little bit to Derrick Lewis. I just personally believe there is something special to see, only in the regard that the biggest fights ever, and I listed them for you earlier, that you remember, not that you were there for, but that you remember that are still talked about, from the Buster Douglases, to the Holly Holmes over Rondas, to the TJ Dillashaws, they all have the one thing in common, which is the guy that wins wasn't supposed to win. The guy that wins has that big power shot, that big power kick, that big something special that the other guy wasn't ready for. And I just offer to you and submit, while I don't think on its face it's an overly competitive contest, I do think it is one that you want to witness.
I love how enthusiastic you are about the co-main. I love that you love everything about it. I love that you're calling it the People's Main Event. Have you actually thought about how it's going to play out? Because I feel like it could go a few ways. Like, do you foresee an actual script playing out here?
Aljo influenced me when he was on this show because I asked him straight. Here's the thing, Ariel. Chris Weidman is the wrestler. He's an All-American wrestler before he was known as the world champion. His nickname is still the All-American. That comes from wrestling. Well, what are we talking about in wrestling? We're talking about taking a guy from this position and getting him into this position with yourself being the one on top. Jacare Souza is as good as anybody to have ever done jiu-jitsu. He is darn near as accomplished as Damian Maia, but ever bit as skilled as Damian Maia. So the question becomes, does Weidman want to use the effort, use the energy it's going to take to get him into his best position? I asked Aljo, you heard what he said? He said yes, he's going to do it. He cannot going to be submitted. He's going to push him into the fence, which Aljo called the cheese grater, and then he's going to drop those elbows on him. That's what he said. If Weidman dances with the one that brought him, that's what he's going to do. If at some point in Weidman's mind he goes, you know what, I just don't want to feel that. It's a little too much effort and he's a little too much dangerous there, then all bets are off, and I don't know what kind of fight we're going to have.
Okay, so if he actually does what Aljo said he is going to do, is that the right move?
I think that it is. I think that he should dance with the one that brought him. I will just tell you, it's a lot of effort and energy to get a guy in that position. Should he fail once or twice, and Jacare isn't without wrestling skills, okay? He can defend him. He's a very strong guy. Should that happen and he offers him a defense, I think that Weidman will go to plan B. I think Jacare is a very powerful striker because I've seen that, but Chris Weidman is a fantastic boxer. That is what Anderson Silva learned the hard way twice. People rewrit the story of Anderson Silva versus Chris Weidman Part 1. They tried to say that Anderson was screwing around and not taking him serious, and that's why he lost. What they don't tell you is that the previous 7.5 minutes of that contest, Chris Weidman touched him up on their feet, chopped him up with kicks, chopped him up with hands, and then put him to sleep. So I only offer that to you to remind you that he's very good on his feet.
Chael, as you know, 2018 coming to an end. We're in November. That means there's just 2 months left. We're going to give awards at the end of the year. And I feel like one of the awards that we should talk about is Rising Star, Breakthrough Athlete,
I know where
someone
you're going
who came
with
on
this.
the scene.
Yep.
There's one guy in the middleweight division.
Yep.
His nickname is the Last Style Bender. He's 3-0 in the UFC this year. He debuted back in February. He's been incredibly active, and he is coming off his first main event win back in July over Brad Tavares. Tonight, he debuts at MSG against a tough, gritty veteran in Derek Brunson. I love this fight. I love the middleweight thing going on, but this fight in particular is phenomenal because we're about to see if the hype is real, right?
Yeah, that's right. And you said that really well because, look, they dealt Adesanya from the bottom of the deck here. Derek Brunson is nobody's fool. Derek Brunson within there. Again, I bring up Anderson Silva because people know who he is and they respect him greatly, and it was a wonderful contest. Derek Brunson asked for this fight. Derek Brunson got it on his face. Derek Brunson can understand why he's the B-side, if you will, of this contest. I do get it. It's to the point that you made about the rising star of Adesanya, about what could be, about the undefeated new prospect. But Derek Brunson is something very special, and he's nobody's fool, and he's starting to get treated like it just a little bit tonight. And I don't think that Adesanya personally is going to make that mistake.
You just talked about dancing with the one who brought you here, right? When you were talking about Chris Weidman.
Of course.
At his core, Derek Brunson is a wrestler.
Yes.
However, he doesn't always use his wrestling, right? Sometimes he gets a little too over-anxious, overzealous, comes in there rushing. We all remember the fight against Robert Whittaker where I still don't understand what was going on there. He got knocked out. He has to use his wrestling tonight, right? He can't strike with Israel Adesanya, correct?
It's got to be a combination of each, but definitely grappling heavy. We've seen Adesanya 2 fights ago get out-wrestled and get held down a little bit. Now, when Adesanya took on Brad Tavares, he fixed those holes. That's one of the things that's so impressive and scary about the Last Style Bender there, is you don't know how much he's improved between fights. So, the point I'm trying to make, yes, Tavares needs to come out. Brunson needs to come out. He needs to use that power because he's a very powerful guy. He needs to use that power and make sure he can touch him. Ariel, if I'm fighting you and I reach out and I can't touch you, okay, you're too far for me to wrestle with. If I can touch you, you're close enough I can change elevation and come in. Reason I say that, Brunson needs to come in strong and heavy, but he has a history of doing that. Though, to your point, when he's throwing those powerful punches at times, Robert Whittaker, of course, a great example, he shows his chin and he can get caught. Protect that chin, throw those shots, try to get inside and get a hold of him.
Is the jury still out on Adesanya, even though he's 3-0? Because
No.
I feel like the fans haven't fully bought in.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
I think that the fans have, but some of the fellow fighters, which are now working in media, kind of don't like to give him his due. But even some of the fighters are starting to come around. But again, I will tell you what has impressed me most about him. And I've kind of been impressed from Jump Street. But what's impressed me most is the improvements that he can show between fights. That is something that John Jones does, where you go out to fight John Jones, you watch all of his highlight tapes, and within the first 30 seconds of his next contest, he does something that was not on any of that film footage. I think that that's what Adesanya is showing us thus far in his career. I think he's closed some of those grappling holes. I think he's even fixed some of those conditioning things. He's starting to be able to use that range, use that reach, because he doesn't have to worry about people getting inside. Now, Brunson is a wrestler at his core. Brunson is the highest level wrestler he's been in there with. This is going to be a very telling contest, but I would offer for you it's going to be very telling for both of them, and there is a reason Derek Brunson is ranked 3 spots ahead of the guy that everybody's given the love to, including us, Adesanya.
Yeah, and let's not forget, Derek Brunson last fought in January of this past year in his home state of North Carolina in a main event and lost to Jacare, a pretty bad loss, so he needs a big win to get back on track as well. Massive fight in the middleweight division. The whole undercard, as far as, well, it's not really an undercard. I don't really know how to explain it. The rest of the main card, other than the main event, they're all middleweight fights. So I just want, did I not do that well?
You explained it perfectly.
Okay,
what do you mean I don't know how to explain it?
While I was saying it, I was like,
you were so eloquent with it. May I mention, fantastic sweater.
Really?
I really do like it.
You like it?
Well, and the tie hangs sometimes. I feel you need something to pull it back. You put on a tie clip. I would have teased you for that sweater. Perfect solution.
When I left my house, I asked my wife if she liked it, and she said yes.
Boom.
That's all I needed.
There you go.
This is really all I needed.
Yeah, all
that
right.
vote of confidence right there. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Adesanya, Brunson, who wins?
Adesanya, Brunson, let's see. Let me tell you this. If it stays on the feet, Adesanya. We're Captain Obvious Chael over here, but I'll just tell you anyway. But if Brunson can get inside, I really was very I'm going to go with Adesanya, but I think it's a lot closer contest than some people do. No, I think he's going to stop him.
Daniel
but in a good fight.
Well, no, I was just trying to
I kind of realized that after I went for it. See, now you're just
Daniel Cormier, Derrick Lewis, main event tonight. First time in MMA history that the heavyweight title will be defended at Madison Square Garden. The champion Daniel Cormier against Derrick Lewis. All right, who's your pick?
Oh, come on, Daniel Cormier.
What?
The real winner's Popeye's Chicken. They got 15 minutes on one of the biggest shows on all of the internet. I don't remember them scratching out a check. They're the real winner, but Daniel Cormier, come on, don't be silly.
So our producer, Lisa, is very mad at me because I asked you a
rounds.
prediction. But guess what? I'm not actually following the script. You know why? Because everyone thinks that Daniel Cormier is going to win. But what everyone doesn't know are Chael Sonnen's prop bet picks.
Oh.
That's where the real mystery lies.
Yeah.
You see that, Elisa, how I did that? That's what a real pro does. Now let me get these prop bets here as I pick them up off my phone, sent to us by the great Jake Lebowitz. All right, here we go. You ready for these?
I'm ready.
Here we go. Prop bet number 1. Plus 1,200. Both fighters will be knocked down during the fight.
No, false.
Really?
Daniel Cormier will not be knocked down.
One will be?
No, there will be no knockdowns.
Ooh, okay. I like it, Chael. Prop bet number 2.
Be a takedown, not a knockdown. Go ahead.
Yep. If Daniel Cormier wins, what is his method of victory? KO, TKO, minus 137, sub, plus 188, decision, plus 1,200.
Yeah, it's probably going to be a TKO. It's going to come through exhaustion, though. I mean, ultimately. A lot of guys give up submissions when they get to that point. That is a possibility, but I will go strikes, referee pulls him off, official pick, TKO.
And muzzle tov to Jordan Rinaldi, who just won, by the way. Prop number 3. If Derrick Lewis wins, what's his method of victory? KO, TKO, plus 600, sub, plus 2,500, and decision, plus 1,400.
KO should Derrick Lewis win.
Yeah, that's the one. Okay, last one. Prop number 4. Will the fight last over under 1.5 rounds? Over plus 125, under minus 175.
Over, absolutely.
You think so?
Yeah, we'll get 2 rounds, and we might even get early in the third. Probably not, but we'll get almost 2 rounds out of this.
I don't know if I asked you this yet. How does Daniel win?
He's going to win through exhaustion. He's going to grind on him and pull him down, and simply Derrick Lewis won't be able to continue. But, yes, ultimately a TKO, and the ref will have to pull him off.
Now, when you say exhaustion, I think, this is going to be like a sluggish fight. fight.
Yeah,
Are you expecting a fun fight?
No, I'm expecting a fun fight. I don't know that Derrick Lewis will ever be able to get up from Daniel. If you look at his last fight, and I don't want to bury Derrick Lewis on this, I just think he's really up against it skill-wise here, and he was taken down a number of times by Volkan, even, pass guard, side control. Did a great job of exploding and getting back to his feet. I don't believe he'll ever be able to get away from Daniel, and eventually, much like Rumble and the guys that came before him, they just simply get too tired to go on.
Daniel, much like yourself, the master after he wins of calling out the next man. He's got a few ways he could go here, right? He's got Brock Lesnar, he's got John Jones. What does he do if he does win?
Extremely important and extremely relevant that you brought that up, because Malki Kawa, John Jones' manager, sat right here and made a very good case. I hope it doesn't hold up, but he started it. Ariel, did you pick up on it? They're trying to steal the Brock Lesnar fight. He did everything he could to lay the groundwork right now to steal the Brock Lesnar fight. He started to talk about the pay-per-views it's going to draw, and guess what? Malki was pretty compelling. No, I don't think he's got any right to that fight. I think it's Daniel Cormier's, but the mere fact that that discussion is going on means it's going on behind the scenes, which means Daniel Cormier needs to solidify this for himself tonight. I didn't know that was a fight he had to do.
Yeah.
Meaning fighting to get the contract, but apparently it is, and he had better do this right.
What a night
Do
we
not
have
bring
in
up
store
John
for all of
Jones.
you.
John Jones
Yes.
is busy. Go
Main
after
card
Brock.
coming up on pay-per-view immediately following the main event. Chael and I will be back live on ESPN+. We'll also be on SportsCenter to wrap it all up. Enjoy the main card. We'll see you afterwards. It's going to be fun. Take care for now.